When we get on live, it ain't no accident, Malik.
Oh, yeah.
When we get on live, it's intentional. Shout out to Uncle Shay Shay with that stunt he pulled.
Everything is a rollout.
Everything is a rollout. We weren't here last Tuesday.
Nope.
Yeah, we weren't. We came back with Tony, House of Swag, on a Thursday. Shout to Tony. She had an amazing trunk show here, which was dope, and her interview was amazing. And then we took a Tuesday off, and now we're back into the weekly space. Couple things before I introduce the beautiful woman to my left. I wore this shirt, Jay, because I got it and I had worn it to an event that I emceed, and my DMs was hitting. People love this sweater. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to know where it's from. So it's a Kamala 47, my man. He did it like the Jackie Robb joint, right? Very Brooklyn. You get it from School Milk. So if you're interested in this sweatshirt, the Kamala 47, you got to go to School Milk, SKOOLMILK. Shout out to my brother Chris. He's a tech knight like myself. I got about 20 of his hoodies and crew necks at this point. I love what the brother does. And the fact that he went to tech helps. But if you're interested in copping, go to School Milk, SKOOLMILK.
So that's at School Milk.
At School Milk, correct. At School Milk. DM him. I said Chris, his name is Corey. DM Corey, tell him you spoke to Marlon and you want the Kamala joint. All right? Also, I want to give some love to my brother Sean Penn. Y'all know him as Little Sean. Sean just recently did Math Hoffa's MEO, My Expert Opinion. And he went on and spoke his piece. And there's been a lot of buzz generating from his interview. But I can tell you from my level of knowledge with that brother is that in that interview, I didn't hear one lie. There was nothing that he said that was untrue. There was nothing that he said that was fabricated. This is a man that I've known now going on 11, 12 years. I've never known him to fabricate anything. So, you know, for all that buzzing out there in the internet, just know Sean Penn was telling the truth. How we doing? Jay, how you feeling?
I feel great.
Good. How was the race for you?
It was good. You got some medal? You had your...
Nah, though. I act like I've been there before.
Yeah,
that's my third Bronx 10 miler. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but it was good. It was a good race. Shout out to everybody that ran the Bronx 10. I really hate going to the Bronx. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm not a fan of the Bronx.
Was that the one that with New Balance over the weekend?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw y'all. I saw y'all.
Yes. So we start right around the corner from Yankee Stadium. Of course, he brings his medal. Look at him. He's such a newbie. Jason's been running for years, and he still acts like a newbie. But I'm glad he brought the medal so y'all could see it.
People get inspired when they see the medal.
They do, right? They do.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to inspire anyone.
Oh, no.
But nah, it was a good race. You know, I was very satisfied with how everybody did. Everybody came out and gave their best. It was a beautiful day to run too.
Yeah.
Like it was cool, but it was sunny. It was nice. So shout out to everybody that ran the Bronx 10. Shout out to my man Nigel. Nigel ran with the cowboy hat. You saw him? He had the cowboy hat. He had nothing on but a cowboy hat and like some short shorts. Nigel was running. He's an elite runner though. He was in the front of the pack.
Yeah, I was bringing up the rear. I'm not a fast runner. I'm a consistent runner. It was pretty dope, but like, I think, and I said this in my IG. I was running this girl. She was like, hey, like, you know, you've been my inspiration through this run. Her husband had died for cancer, with cancer, and she didn't know she was gonna finish the race. And I just said to her, look, if you wasn't running, like he's watching over you, he'd be encouraging you if he was here. Like, let's finish it. You know, walk up the hills, run down the downs, do what you gotta do. And then she said, all right. And then she left. She said, thank you. She left. So then after the race, she found me and she thanked me. And, you know, it felt good, like, to be able to inspire people. And then I got more people behind me, like, yo, like, we watch, because I'm the biggest dude out there. So they're like, I'm watching you, and you're, like, basically, like, the North Star, like, consistent. So I do end up inspiring people to run in the race, and that was dope. So
that's dope.
Yeah, that's dope. What you find, one of the dopest things that I found about running is that you realize that it's not about running. It's about so much more, right? You know, the people that you meet, every person that is running and that is committed to the concept of running long distance, they're doing it for so much more than just what you think. It's just the race. It's never just a race for anybody.
I used to run competitively.
Yeah, so you know.
And it's really a mind thing. You challenge yourself,
Right.
and then you talk to yourself, especially long distance, that you can do it. You know, I've only got this much more. I know I've got that to go. Come on, girl. You know you can do it. That whole thing, and when you accomplish it, it's a really good feeling internally.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Especially when you manage your race and you've done exactly what you set out to do. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So again, shout out to all the runners at the Bronx. 10, depending on what the doctor says about my finger, I may be walking the New York City Marathon this November. I'm gonna compete. Either I'm running it or I'm walking it, but y'all stay tuned for that. We're gonna talk about that at another time. Right now, I wanna talk about the sister to my left, and I wanna start this by saying, you know, we have always, at Conversations in Hip Hop Closet, been about women in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Kaisha, my sis, she's the co-founder of Hip Hop Closet. She's a woman in leadership. April Walker, woman in leadership. Tembisa M. Shaka, woman in leadership. Right? All of the women around me are women in leadership. And so, you know, here at Conversations, we have always looked to uplift, identify, and expose the stories and journeys of women in leadership. And so when Kaisha hit me and said, this is who you're going to be interviewing, because that's how it goes with me and her. She'll text me and says, this is who you're interviewing this Tuesday. And I'm like, I bet. When she told me who you were and I realized you were a woman in leadership, I knew that we would have a good discussion. And so I'm excited because, like I told you off camera, we don't know one another. And so a lot of times I interview people I know, which is cool, right? Because I know some cool people.
Right.
But it's a different conversation because I already know them, right? I don't know you. And so this will be a learning experience for me and a testimony for you at the same time. So I like to present to some and introduce to others, Amelia Moore.
Thank you. AKA Amelia.
Amelia is Moore,
Yeah,
right?
That's the next phase of me.
Got you.
You know, when I was in the record industry, well, first I started in modeling. Then I went into music. And now I'm doing consulting. And I'm actually doing television now. And I'm loving it. I've actually transitioned from a record exec into talent. So a few of my friends call me executive talent. Because once you're an executive, you're always an executive. But I'm acting now, I'm singing now, I'm hosting.
So wait a minute, you're
like
in front of the
yourself.
camera now?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm enjoying it. And you know, throughout my music business career, I've always been an artist advocate. But now I know why. Because I'm an artist at heart. So, yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm enjoying life. I'm living life and loving it.
Let's start from the very, 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 very beginning.
Okay.
Where were you born?
I was born in Queens, New York. But my heritage is Cape Verdean. Shout out New Bedford.
Oh, shout out to the Cape Verdeans.
TV,
baby! Shout out to the Cape Verdeans.
Yeah, boy.
I know some very cool ass Cape Verdeans.
Now you know
shout out to my
another
girl
one.
Regina. Yeah.
Yeah. So, my father wanted me to know my culture, and I was
That
living in
Massachusetts makes sense now.
Yeah,
I got
there
it
you
now.
go.
Yes. All right, go on.
So
Continue.
he migrated me and my mom to Massachusetts.
Right.
New Bedford, Massachusetts,
Right.
a small whaling town, which is predominantly Cape Verdean.
Cape Verdean, right.
And he also wanted me to have a good education in Massachusetts. That's what they're about. You know, so I went from a classroom of 25 to a classroom of 12.
Wow.
And that was
When did you move to Massachusetts?
when I was 7.
Okay, so you
So
didn't really have much of a childhood in Queens, not in the way
Well,
like
my formative
running
years,
outside.
No, I did. My formative years were here. Like I was in dancing. You know, my parents were the type of parents that felt like a child. In order for a child to be cultured, they had to have different experiences. So parents kept me very involved, and later on in life I just became very involved because it's a good thing, and sometimes it's a blessing and a curse sometimes when you can do so many different things,
Right.
because people feel like you're not focused.
Right.
But I just like living life. My zodiac sign is Aquarian, and I live it to the fullest. But I'm on the cusp of a Capricorn, which makes me a little different kind of Aquarian. And then my moon is in Taurus, and that's what a lot of people see when they go rub me the wrong way, because I truly go from the block to the boardroom, even though I was raised in middle America.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, street life, I know about it because I live in New York, you know what I mean? And I do a lot of outreach, and that's very important to me. You know, our youth is our future, and if we don't invest in them, what are we doing? So I do a lot of outreach.
Tell me about your childhood in New Bedford.
My childhood in New Bedford was fun. I mean, New Bedford is a very special place for me. I call it home, even though I was born here and raised here pretty much, because right after my college years, I came right back, and I've been living here.
Right, I mean, but it is home.
I am a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I am a New Yorker.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But New Bedford is my home. And what was beautiful about it is when I first moved there, nobody locked their doors. You could leave your bike anywhere, and it would be right there. It would never disappear. It's changed over the years because society has changed over the years. But it's just that what was Andy Griffin's Mayberry? It's the Mayberry of Massachusetts. That's what I call it. Everybody knows everybody. The population is about 100,000. So now that I'm an adult, I'm now advocating for the seniors in the town, because the present mayor, he's not understanding that by developing commodity, you're raising the taxes, the land taxes. And some of these seniors are on fixed incomes. And so, when you raise the land tax, you also raise the prices of the insurance for the house, and everything gets raised. And now these people are now starting to...
Just pricing themselves out.
Yes, exactly. And that's the last form of gentrification. But what's really disgusting to me is that town, these are the people, the taxpayers, that substantiated this city when it had no industry. Now all of a sudden you get industry, and the very thing that people are gravitating to the city to because they like, they're getting rid of. That doesn't make any sense. So on the 30th, I'm sitting before City Council. And that's what I like to tell people. You can be the difference that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
You don't need, the army of one is really remarkable because you do inspire others. And so the City Council is going to be in for a surprise, because I got a whole bunch of seniors coming talking about, like, look, if you want to see who you're persecuting, I'm going to present it to you. And really, to be honest with you, I've got senators and governors and representatives that are behind me, but unfortunately the issue that I'm raising is a local thing. So we have to put the pressure locally. Yeah. And then they can do what they need to do. So
You're the only
that's what
child?
it is. I am an only child.
That's a different type of childhood, you understand?
Yeah, well, it's a different type of life.
Yeah, it is.
You definitely have to learn how to fend for yourself.
Yeah.
You definitely have to learn how to assess people very quickly.
Right.
And you always have to know how to position yourself.
When you have siblings in the house, you practice socialization in the house. And so what I mean is, if it's like it was me and my two sisters, it was three of us. When it's three of you in a house together and you guys are kids, your parents leave you by yourself, you guys form your personalities and how you connect to people differently. So you know who's the funny one. You know who's the sloppy one, right? Like, these things come out because you have siblings. When you're the only child, your level of socialization changes. And what I mean by socialization is, when children grow, right? Education is a part of child development. Regiment is a part of child development,
and
but socialization is a part of child development.
Critical
it's a crucial part of child development.
But I've been fortunate. My mom came from a family of 13.
So you have tons of cousins.
All of the aunts were there,
aunts,
in the town,
uncles,
and
cousins.
all
You had everybody.
of the cousins. So I did have.
So you really
like
wasn't
some of
an
my
only
cousins.
child.
I call them cuz-sis,
Right?
Because they're really my sisters.
Right. Exactly. You come from a big family. You come from a tribe, so
Yeah.
you were enveloped in the tribe.
And Thanksgiving was always in our house for years.
Uh-huh.
Everybody convened to our house. So yeah, So I understood the dynamics. And then, you know, inadvertently throughout the years, some of my cousins lived with us for various reasons, whatever. Because my mom and dad were like the matriarch and patriarch of the family. So, you know, they were the glue.
Right, so your
Still
house
are.
was the
My Auntie Penny is Auntie Penny till forever.
Right.
And Uncle Fudgy's Uncle Fudgy till forever.
Right.
That's just who they are.
Tell me the first time you ever came across hip hop.
Oh. College.
Where'd you go to
Boston College. I went to
You
Boston
went
College.
to BC, okay.
Mm-hmm. And they had a party, and I got open. But it wasn't until I came to New York after I graduated.
Wait a minute, hold on. You said you got open.
Yep.
You was open off hip hop.
Yep. Totally. I was like, this is it. This is me. And the reason why is because I'm a very loving person.
Right.
And what I loved about the whole culture and lifestyle of hip hop, it's about that. It's really based on that.
Right.
I don't give a damn if you're purple, yellow, green, blue. Can you spit?
Right.
Can you dance? Can you graph? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the kids nowadays, they kind of got it twisted. They're always so busy posting. I mean, we joke about it, and I got a show now called Hip Hop Tour. We talk about it. Back in the day, if you left a party with a dry shirt, you were corny. You better leave that club with a wet shirt because you were partying all night. So the kids now, they don't
No one
do
dances
that.
in clubs anymore.
It's wild to me. It's like we call them
Everything now is about
wallflowers.
posturing.
Yeah.
Everything is posturing and picture taking.
Yeah.
Right? Buying bottles, right? So like corrupt consumerism.
Yeah.
And posturing.
Yeah.
No one dances.
It's a
Not in
false-
hip hop.
Well, no. Okay. This is something that I'm really addressing, again, that army of one. And this is one of the reasons why I have the show Hip Hop Tour. There is a pinnacle difference between the culture of hip hop and the rap industrial complex.
Agree.
And what our children have been dealing with for the past 20 years is the rap industrial complex.
Correct.
Do not, under any certain terms, call it my culture, because it's not.
It's absolutely not.
It's absolutely not. And I argue all the time about it, because I was fortunate enough, I started as a fan. Like SNS, Capri.
Shout to SNS.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
You know, them guys know me because when I first came to New York, I was that skinny little girl that used to sit right there in front of the DJ and watch him cut. That's how I got to know all of them, because I loved that art form.
So you leave Boston College and you come. What was your major at school?
Education.
You want to be a teacher?
Education and speech pathology. I did teach for a while, and I'm an education specialist.
Okay.
I deal with after-school programs and give them extracurricular activities that fortifies a program, so that the children wind up reinforcing, because these teachers are not teaching nowadays. And these kids are getting homework and they don't even know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
So we do various games and various things that fortifies phonics and mathematics and all the different things, you know, to help our children learn.
So you leave BC and you come back to the city?
Yes.
Why'd you come back to New York City?
Because I'm a New Yorker.
So you was like, it's time for me to come back.
Yeah.
And where'd you come?
Brooklyn!
Where in Brooklyn?
The other side of my family lives in Brooklyn. Like my mom, with her 13 sisters, was right around the corner, Pacific Street.
Pacific and what?
4th.
Pacific and 4th.
Yeah.
I'm from Pacific Street.
293. 293
I'm
Pacific.
from Pacific and Crown Heights. I'm from
Oh, there
Pacific
you
Street
go.
between New York and Ocean.
Yeah, there you go. So it was inevitable for me to move back to Brooklyn. And, you know, Brooklyn has a texture like none of the other boroughs. My two favorite is Brooklyn and Harlem. Those are my two favorite.
Right.
Because Brooklyn has this edge about it, this aura of go get it. And Harlem has this panache about black culturalism, renaissance. So between the two experiences, and even now Brooklyn is predominantly black renaissance now. I'm loving what's happening in Brooklyn right now.
Right.
But that was Harlem.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
now Harlem is working towards becoming that again.
Right.
And I'm happy about that.
So I'm gonna explain something to you about the relationship between Brooklyn and Harlem that a lot of people don't touch on. It's symbiotic. So what happened is, and I can speak to this primarily because this is my grandmother's story. What happened was during the Harlem Renaissance, where Harlem was the center of blackness in America, as the Harlem Renaissance waned, black people who were working class, who were working in lower Manhattan or Brooklyn, left Harlem to move to Brooklyn. So Bedford-Stuyvesant, prior to the blackness that we know it to be, was a white middle class neighborhood that was emptied because of white flight when suburbs were created, and then it was filled by and large by black people who moved from Harlem. So Bed-Stuy and Harlem have always been symbiotic brothers or sisters, in that the nature of what existed in Harlem during its height is the same. It's the what created Bed-Stuy in its height.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even with black nationalism, people would say Brooklyn is the center of black nationalism in New York City, where you talk about the East,
right
you
now,
talk
yes.
about the Brooklyn United Front, the Black United Front, and you talk about all the things that happened here. But Harlem was the center of black nationalism before that.
And what a lot of people don't realize is Harlem was really the derivative of Seneca Village.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's this whole thing about migration where they decide where we can and cannot live. And now, one of the agendas that we talk about a lot is just this whole ownership. And no, we're not going nowhere. We're not moving. You either adapt to what we're doing, or you can find someplace else to go. And I think, black folks overall are beginning to realize what their value is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm very happy about that.
Right.
Because for so long we've been subservient. Not necessarily understanding our legacy. But now, because there's so much out there, really, the black inventors, the black history, the black towns that are underground, the black towns that are lakes now, all of this injustice that people have seen, it has made them stand a little bit taller and a little bit less to the nonsense. A little less. And one of my friends taught me something so poignant. He always says, you know how people say it is what it is? No, it is what you allow. That's why it is what it is. It is what it is because you allowed it. So if you don't allow it, it won't be.
Right.
And that's where we need to get to.
Let's get back to you and hip hop. So
Yes.
you come back to the city, skinny kid. Did you start modeling before
Yes.
you came in?
No, I modeled ever since, but not professionally.
So tell me about that.
So when I came to New York, Al Grundy, Dandria, Audrey Smaltz, those are the people that were influenced. I was one of the underground crew. And I entered a competition.
I have family
Faces
that
Go
knows Audrey
Places.
Smaltz.
Yeah, Audrey's an amazing woman.
connected to the family.
Amazing. That was one of my first mentors, and I am so thankful to that woman. She was just amazing. And I feel very fortunate that I knew her, and just watching her know Leon Talley, like, this is a black woman in an era and in an industry that black people don't rule. So it was just so wonderful to see this enormous woman just fill the room, But so I entered a competition, Faces Going Places, with Grace Del Marco, and I won it. And I
What year
wanted
was this, if you don't mind me asking?
83, 84.
Okay. So this is pre-crack era. This is freebase era.
Yeah,
right before shit went left.
This is just the beginning.
Right.
So I winded up doing that, and then I winded up getting married, and my ex-husband at the time was a producer, and my mom.
Hip hop producer?
Just music.
Just
producer.
music.
We did all musics.
Right.
And my mom always taught me that a good woman never takes a man from what he is. You know what I mean?
A good woman never takes a man from what he is. I like
because
that.
a man
Correct.
has
He has to have-
he has to have his livelihood.
Yeah.
And when you take him away from that, you're taking away some of his manhood. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna let go of because at that time, shout out to Kay Unger, I was her right hand. So I learned a lot about the garment industry. I was well endowed in the garment industry. I was her right hand, and we were doing samples and lines and all kind of stuff I was learning from the designers, from the pattern makers. It was wonderful. And it was a natural derivative from modeling.
Right.
Because
It's the next step.
At that time, modeling was a lot different than what it is now. Now they realize the young ladies as persons and personalities.
Right.
Thank you, Tyra.
Right.
Thank you, America's Next Top Model. That kind of did that paradigm shift of supermodels, right? But back then, you were a hanger.
And that's it.
And I'm too much of a person
to be a hanger.
Right. I can't be inanimate. I can't be not seen.
Right.
It was just a different kind of positioning. Like they thought you were dumb and just pretty, I can't do that. Daddy raised me and mommy raised me to have a brain first. All the rest of this is extracurricular. Right. That's the most important thing to have. Right. So that's what I work on. So for me to relinquish that for my career wasn't working. So I got into the music industry and I had an advantage. Shout out to Deidre Tate. She told me about Time Warner's temp program. And because I was administrative, I got in. And because I was in the garment industry, I used to know all the assistants to everybody in the game because they liked the sample sales. Right. And I knew all the sample sales. Right. So it was this exchange, because at first I used to go to the events to meet people. And that's how I knew about the events, because I would tell them about the sample sales. And strategy in the entertainment industry is the number one part of this.
It's everything.
It's everything.
Right.
So then what happened is as I got into it, I got into the black music department. And shout out to God rest the dead Fumi, DJ Fumi. He recently passed, but he wanted to be a DJ. And I wanted to be an A&R coordinator. So he was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to bring you in a couple more times, and then I'm going to quit.
Now, this is still mid-'80s, late 80s, right?
No, this is now in the 90s.
So this is in the 90s, okay. All right, so now hip-hop is globally recognized. This thing is
it's gone. So I'm now transitioning from a fan to an actual participant within the culture. Right. And I got into the black music division of Atlantic Records. And Jay and Dane were talking about starting Rockefeller outside my cubby because original Ski Beats and Original Flavor and Can I Get Open with Jay was our record that we were working at that time. So they were always there, but they were always talking about what was missing. So that's why they decided to do that. And I learned a lot just by being the earpiece, not speaking, but just learning and listening, And shout out to C.B. Bullard. That was another mentor. He was in charge of the jazz department. He actually told me he put Sylvia on the back of his bike and taught her promotion. So it was one of the jazz icons, one of the big names. And he told me, in this business, young lady, you don't sacrifice but two things, for nothing or nobody. I said, yes, sir. What are they? He said, your reputation and your opinion. And so I hold those two things very dear to me because your reputation reps you when you're not in the room. Correct. And your opinion gives you value.
So you, at Atlantic, you were A&R?
I was an A&R assistant, yes.
Tell us
I worked for Sugar Daddy.
For those who don't know, explain the
Sugar
work
Daddy,
of
the
A&R.
DJ at Bentley.
Yeah. Explain what an A&R does.
Our A&R is artist and repertoire. It's changed over the years. It's not the same as what it is. A&R nowadays is really number watches. But except for the ones that are traditional, because I don't want to diss anybody that's really doing the job.
Really right.
There are some that are still doing the job, but for the most part, they're looking for the artist that's making the noise. They pull them in. They give.
Yeah, now it's different because now they're looking for people who already have analytics to match what they want. So it's different. You're not breaking talent anymore because talent is breaking itself. Talent is going on their IGs and going on their TikToks and going on their YouTubes, and they're breaking themselves, and then you just bringing them in.
Yeah, but as an A&R person, what A&R is supposed to do is artist and repertoire. So we find the artist and we build their repertoire. We look at an artist, hear them sonically, look at them image-wise, and then mold this whole package together. Artist development is now non-existent in the music industry, and it shows.
Right.
I'm just going to say that. It shows.
Right.
And so I hope that as we start really realizing, because artists are now, the pendulum is really changing. The industry is really changing. Artists are starting to realize that there is a need for them to be somewhat of an executive of their own career. It's no longer you can relinquish it to somebody else because nobody's going to have that same interest.
Right.
Today's artists are also realizing that they need the team because the record labels used to have the teams. They used to have the marketing department, the promotion department, the radio department, the this, the that, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and sixth. They don't have that anymore.
Right.
They look at you to do that.
Right.
So now they're realizing that they need to build that. The thing that I see that they're missing more than anything else is connecting the dots. They don't connect the dots. They do this over here and that over there and this over here and think that that's all going to catapult. No. It starts with a word, then it goes to a sentence, then it goes to a paragraph, and now you have a story. If you're not building your career from that perspective, you're wasting money.
Who's some of the artists you work with as A&R at Atlanta?
Oh, God. Everybody. That was one of the most exciting jobs I had. So we had MC Light, we had Brandy, we had Original
Let me tell you
Flavor.
about Brandy. So when Brandy came out with I Want to Be Down, I remember the first time I heard that song, and I was like, this chick is going to blow. Like, it was something about that single
That's on my little baby.
that was so simple and yet so eloquent. And I remember, because at that time I was rhyming, I actually took the beat and was rhyming over the beat, but I remember hearing that song for the first time and being captivated by I Want to Be Down.
Yep.
A simple song.
Yep.
Captivated. When I tell you, I was like maybe 18, 19 years old, I was captivated the first time I heard I Want to Be Down.
But that was a time where innovation and authenticity and originality was key. And so it was deciding what was Brandy's image, what was Brandy's sound, what was Brandy, who was Brandy. And it was wonderful to watch how they put that all together. And you know, and her mom did a wonderful job as far as being the regulator of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sonia knows her kids and knows how to develop that career. And, and she's done an excellent job.
Excellent
Both of them are
job.
superstars.
Right, of course.
But, you know, Gerald Levert, Roberta Flack, now that was an amazing day for me. As a young girl, I loved Roberta Flack.
Right.
And I'll never forget the day I was called to do a mastering session with her. And I couldn't believe I was sitting the same distance with you, with somebody who I, as a young girl, would sit in her bedroom and just sing every one of her songs incessantly.
Right.
So it was really wonderful. And, you know, it was really cool because she was like, you really have a good understanding of my sound. I said, I've been listening to you my whole life, you know. And an interesting story, they winded up remastering the album, right? And Ahmet Ertegun, Roberta was his baby. So Ahmet Ertegun, and he liked the first one. And the first one was the one that I did, right? So he called me into the office and I thought I was in trouble. And I'm sitting there and he says, young lady, are you aware, and I'm so Brooklyn, are you aware that they did another mastering? And I was like, what? Like, because I was like, I want that to go out into the market because my name's going to be on that with a Roberta Flack. Like, are you kidding me? And he was like, I was like, no. And now I'm showing a little bit of attitude, but I'm like, this is the big man, so I can't show the attitude. But he was giggling at me. And he says, I want you to know I chose yours. And he says, and I just want to know what you were thinking. And I said, Roberta's voice is so warm and full of body. I wanted to make sure that sonically that resonated more than anything else. And he says, that's exactly what it did. So, I mean, that's some of the jobs that you have as an A&R that I don't know if they do still today because a lot of the artists master their own music.
At the time, where were you living in Brooklyn?
Let's see. At that time I was married, so I was living in Jersey.
Oh, you was out in
East
Jersey.
Orange.
Okay.
Ill-town.
Shout out to East Orange. Shout out to East Orange.
Shout out to EO. Shout out to Chino XL.
Rest in peace, Chino. Tell me about your work-life balance when you were A&R, when you were really putting in that work. Tell me about your work-life balance.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I first started at Atlantic, the work-life balance was really easy. It wasn't until I started getting bigger positions within the music industry that the time started becoming more. And you literally put in 18 to 20 hour days some days. You know what I mean? But you love it so much. You know, and an advice to all the women out there, know your value. You know, we as women, we tend to love to be that fixer because we're nurturers. But in that, sometimes we devalue ourselves because we're so amped to get it done and so amped to want to help and so amped to want to be a part that we forget that it may or may not be our job. And so now you get this reputation of being able to do anything and everything and at the same rate that you were getting paid.
You for anything.
There it is.
Right.
You're doing the extra work without the compensation to go along with it. So for all the females that are out there, make sure that as you're nurturing your career, you're positioning yourself to stay paid. Don't make the same mistake I did. And I talk about that because there was nobody that really, when female A&Rs came into the game, there was really not that many mentors for you. And the mentors that were in the game, they were so busy and inundated that they couldn't necessarily give you the time. So you learned vicariously by watching them and listening to them, you know?
So Atlantic, Def Jam was under Atlantic? No. Who was under Atlantic? Give me some labels.
I mean, one of the best ones was when Interscope ended up going to Atlantic, and then we had the whole Dre, Snoop,
the whole
all that whole piece. Chronic. I was the queen when we got the Chronic out. What? But yeah, so I mean, you know, Atlantic was a really unique opportunity for me because I got a chance to see black music. Because this is when, you know, LeBaron Taylor at Sony was the executive that winded up establishing the black music divisions, and then all of the other labels did it. And so what happened is you had the jazz department, you had the pop artists that were black that dealt with the pop department, but also the black music division because they were black. You had your hip hop artists, and then you had your true core like Levert, R&B artists.
R&B all the way.
Yeah, all the way. You know? And so you got a chance to see the actual tentacles that black music does. And how it's marketed and how it reaches out and how it crosses over and how, you know what I mean? All these different hows. You don't necessarily get that opportunity now because everything is done out of house as opposed to in-house.
How long were you at Atlantic?
4 years.
When did you leave?
I left when Brian Reed became the director of A&R, and then I went to G Street because Kevin Woodley, Sugar Daddy, had left, and then I did maybe 1 year with Brian Reed, and then I left for an opportunity to be director of A&R and director of A&R administration. And then A&R administration is completely different. That's all the bean counting, the contracts, the label copy, all of that. And it was a wonderful experience because I also learned international trade. Because G Street was under Island, which was a British label. So you learned about international. And at that in particular, I did Grave Diggers. So I dealt with RZA. I did Dougie Fresh. My buddy till this day, forever, ever. I met Londell McMillan there.
Never Tech Night. He went to Tech like me.
PM Dawn. Amber Sunshower. She was an alternative artist and a New Kingdom. And then on the reggae side, because John was from Jamaica, we did Luciano, Beanie Man, and inadvertently Sizzler. So, yeah.
What's the difference when you deal with reggae versus dealing with hip hop? See, reggae and rockers and music that comes out of Jamaica, to me it's so unique because it's all at once, it's secular and like bacchanal at the same time. Like Jamaican artists can toe that line between doing music about God and music about the streets in the same song. It's the same fucking song, right? So I think it would be fun to kind of work A&R.
Well, yeah, it was, but you know, the other thing about them is because they're their own community, they pretty much know what they want to do.
Right, and they're also they're a very niche community.
So the amount of like artist development per se is not really.
It's not,
more
yeah.
of the marketing and the pushing.
Right.
But I always used to joke because you knew when Beanie Man was in the office as soon as you hit the door. Mm-hmm. Beanie's here.
Right.
You smell the ganja.
Right.
So it was that type of thing. But working and just seeing Luciano was an amazing experience for me because he was on a whole nother level. The religious side of it was very wholesome, and the way he was treated and the way they prepared the food, everything was very cultural and very different and very strict and very orderly and very precise. And I was like, wow, this is the reason why this man has the longevity and the respect that he does, because it's right and exact, everything. So that was wonderful to see.
Nice.
But my favorite story is Sizzler. I had known him, so we did a concert. He did a concert in Martha's Vineyard, and I had my mom.
What year was this?
This had to be.
Sizzler in Martha's Vineyard. Even though when I was just in Martha's Vineyard,
in
Richie
2000.
Spice was out there.
This had to be in 2000.
Okay, good.
Late 90s, early 2000. No, let's see. Yeah.
Late 90s.
No,
Right.
early 2000.
Early 2000.
So, my mom, who loves music, any kind of music, and is a dancer, she was right. Here's the stage. My mom's standing right here, jamming with Sizzler. And it was her first reggae concert. So he's having a good time watching this silver-haired lady just jam. And everybody knows her, so they know that that's my mom, and that's how she gets down. I go to the bar, and the guy turns around, and he says, "Excuse me, are you with that lady?" I said, "Yeah, that's my mom." He says, "Well, Sizzler wants to meet her after stage."
Nice.
After the concert. And I started joking. I was like, "Mom, you know what I mean? You got invited backstage. Like, what's up with that?" You know what I mean? But he was like, "Mama, I just wanted to meet you because you reminded me of how much my mom used to enjoy music, and so I just wanted to give you that respect and just say thank you because I enjoyed my show watching you enjoy
my show." Right.
And that's him.
Sizzler just performed. I just went to go see Sizzler. He just was at Brooklyn Museum Labor Day weekend.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's one of the artists that I truly have so much reverence for because he knows who he is and doesn't deviate from that at all. And just the way he is on stage is just the way he is off stage. He's him. So I respect that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you work at G Street for how long?
I think I did G Street for about a good 3 years.
And then what comes next?
And then after that I left to start my own business.
Let me ask you something. Do you have children?
Yes, I have one son.
Okay, so when did you have your son?
I had my son before I got in the business.
Oh, even before the business.
Yeah.
Okay,
when
so
I got in,
yeah.
my son had to be speaking to me in potty trained before I would.
Before you went.
I would let anybody. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Nope.
Good.
So then from there I started my own marketing company, and Adroit Marketing. I might have had it for not even 3-4 months. Because Deidre said, "Hey, I got these people up in Yonkers that I want you to meet. I think you could really help them." And so I said, okay. And then I met Siobhan. And then from Siobhan, I met D and Wah. And ironically, I had met Wah before because Wah, through Domingo, shout out to Domingo Beats. He doesn't call himself that, man. Domingo. He had brought Wah to G Street to shop X.
To shop DMX.
Yes. And I wanted to sign DMX.
Right.
But John wasn't. He was like, concentrate on what we're working on.
Right.
And later on, he was like, damn.
Shit.
You know?
that was a mistake.
That part.
Right.
He was like, I don't want that N-word. Now
right.
he's like, I should have got that N-word.
Yeah, later on.
Right.
So when, and it was funny because when I was in the office, I was like, wait a minute, I met you before. And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, snap. It was like cipher complete for me. So I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be.
This is it. Right.
But the job was so big because what a lot of people don't realize is it was 5 people when Ruff Ryders first started. You know what I mean? That was like really working the office per se at 33 Broadway. You know?
So
really, at first it was just Siobhan and I, D and Wah. Then, and D's clique and Wah's clique. You know, his man's in him. You know. But as far as the office thing, it was that. Then Keisha came in, and Tiffany came in.
So when you came on to Ruff Ryders, they hadn't yet signed X. They hadn't yet signed Lots.
No, they did.
So X was on Def Jam.
They had their production company, and they had just signed the label deal.
Okay.
They had just signed it, and that's why I said it was too big for me to just consult. It made more sense for me to become part of the team.
Right.
Because the daily operations is going to happen, and it did. I mean, geez. Overnight.
Right.
Like, one of my favorite stories to talk about, we did so many firsts, okay? So we decided that we wanted to put the order form for our merchandise inside the CD booklet. And what people didn't realize is when you had a joint venture, you had right of refusal. What you said went. The label
didn't have right of refusal.
No, we did.
Right.
What we said went. We were the shot callers, and I constantly reminded them of that. You know, it's like, nah. So we decided we was going to put that in, and they were like, oh, that's ridiculous. And I remember fighting for 6 to 8 weeks, because they wanted 4 to 6 weeks. I was like, no, absolutely not. We're doing 6 to 8 weeks. So we did 6 to 8 weeks. After X's album dropped, you know those big white sacks that mailmans have for letters? We had like 4 of them in our office.
For merchandise.
Full of 4x6 cards.
Right.
That were like this thick. So can you imagine how many were in?
Hundreds of thousands.
Thousands!
Right.
We had thousands of orders right out the gate.
Right.
Right
That's why
the gate.
6 to 8 weeks of fulfillment made sense.
Yep, because we
ain't
did it
no
in 6.
fucking way.
Nah, we did it in 6.
Right.
So we looked good because we
delivered the expectation.
Yes.
Right.
But had we did 2 to 4 or 4 to 6, we would have been in trouble.
You wouldn't have looked good. Same 6
We would
weeks.
have had lawsuits.
Right.
But those are some of the things that, you know, again, strategy. You have to always think forethought. You have to think long term in this game. You can't think immediate or short term. It doesn't work that way. You think long term and then create a plan that gets you there, that is short term, that gets you to the long term. A lot of people make that mistake. You know, but that's one of the fun stories I love to tell because we were the first ones to do that. And then after that,
everybody started doing it.
Yeah, everybody did it. That's just like, you know, the t-shirts. That was another remarkable marketing strategy. If you notice, we had the same R t-shirts. They were just different colors.
Right.
You know?
Right.
With whatever the event was in the back. But what that did was flip our merchandising. Because if you had an orange R and the color today was blue,
I needed a
you're
blue.
Old.
Right.
You ain't cool. You ain't hip.
Right.
You ain't with the program.
Right.
So what are you going to do? You're going to buy another shirt.
Right. Right. So in its simplicity, it created revenue streams.
Unbeatable.
Right.
And then that's when I became president of Ruff Ryder Lifestyles, which was the dog food, the producers, the artists, the motorcyclists, the thug workout, the clothing line, and I think that's everything. I thought it was 7, but I'm missing one.
At its height, how big was Ruff Ryders as a label and as a conglomerate?
We were huge.
A lot of people don't talk.
Operational wise, we were still small and self-contained because, you know, I was the one that moved them from Broadway, 33 Broadway to 53rd Street because, you know, sometimes, again, it's all strategy, right? And, you know, it's not about hate. It's just learning how to play the game right. So they used to do stuff, and they being the label Def Jam, would do stuff like, we got a meeting in 5 minutes. We're an hour away.
Right. You can't
so
make
don't worry if you can't make those decisions. We'll
make them for you, right?
No, we'll let you know what happened in the meeting.
And that shit is purposeful, right?
Strategic. It's
right.
strategic. So I said, okay. We moved 2 blocks away from the office. The next time they did it, we were in the office first.
Right.
And they were like, oh. I said, oh, we didn't tell you? We're on 53rd Street now. Checkmate.
53rd and what?
53rd and 8th. We was on 53rd, they was on 50th. 51st. Checkmate. 825 8th Avenue.
Right.
Checkmate.
That's funny.
Checkmate.
I worked at 825 7th Avenue and 53rd Street.
Oh, that's
ABC.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Pat's been like
I was
this
there.
all
I
the
was
time.
there. Yep.
So yeah. So I mean, you know, that's some of the fun stuff. I mean, I love the career I had. Did I make a few mistakes down the line? Absolutely.
What's one of your mistakes?
Not understanding my value, not negotiating. I was the type of person that was always focusing on making the money, but making the money for the label, not making the money for me.
For you, right.
So, like, our artists, I mean, I remember JD used to come into the office and say, "Get the money, Millie," because that was my nickname. Nobody called me Amelia. Everybody called me Mills or Millie.
Right.
So, you know, and I used to rejoice in that. Because I knew I was making a difference. I was empowering my brothers. How could I not be happy about that?
Right. But at the cost of not necessarily knowing your true
value. Yeah, but you know,
or not knowing it, because I'm sure you knew it, but testing it, like.
Well, no, it's
validating
not
it.
professing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, you know, we as women, it's not easy being a female in any male-dominated industry.
Right.
Period.
Right.
That's why, you know, I also wrote a book, CEO versus CEO, to help women understand that. Because effective communication with your brothers is the key.
Right.
Having a game face is the key.
Right.
Not wearing your emotions on your sleeves is the key. Articulating that when I'm starting to yell at you because you're yelling at me, it is not anger. It is the same amount of passion that you have. Because my brothers, they tend to say, "Oh, you emotional." No, I'm passionate. Same passion you got. Because you yelling at me. So what am I supposed to sit there like Bobo and say, "Okay, no,
Right.
I'm not that.
Right.
I'm going to give it,
Right.
I'm going to give it right back."
Right.
And my brothers know that. You know what I mean? And sometimes they be like, "You sure you ain't never did nothing in the street?" And like, because you take on that persona.
Right.
You know, because sometimes, you know, when in Rome, you got to do as a Roman.
Right.
You know, sometimes that's a whole language in itself.
Do you ever have any interactions with Diddy? You see Diddy going through this whole thing
Oh,
now.
boy.
You ever have any interactions with Diddy?
You know, it's really unfortunate what's happening right now.
I
You know,
agree.
and I'm torn because part of me, I'm somebody that believes in being humane to humanity. I'm a humanitarian first.
Right.
So part of me is happy for the multitude of victims that when they spoke their truth was victimized even more because of it. Because he is such a powerhouse. Because he is such an icon. But then the other side of me is, I look at this brother that started with an idea and built an empire. And unfortunately, because of tactics, that's now demolished. And so, do we recognize the greatness that he did? Or do we realize that there is a mandate for us to establish a code of ethics within this industry that is never to be messed with? And to understand it, you know, it's a twofold thing. You know, again, it is what it is. It is what you allow. Some of these artists are so thirsty for stardom that they will literally do anything, and I've seen it. And they don't blame anybody. They take on that because they want it that bad. And, you know, I try to let them know, don't ever want anything more than you loving yourself, because you lose yourself in the end. And there's a lot of people that have had nervous breakdowns that have, you know, and the problem that I have with this is that Sean is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm hoping that as they're nipping this tip of the iceberg, they actually remove the whole iceberg.
But you and I both know they won't.
We don't know.
And that's what I was.
I don't know.
Ask you.
The only reason why I don't know is because this is an election year.
Yeah, but this is so. Look, we don't put enough blame on the systems that create the opportunities for corruption. And the thing about hip hop.
Stop right there. But go ahead.
No, I'm going to say what you said. The thing about hip hop is, at a certain point in the mid-90s, it took a jump from the culture that you and I were raised on into what you call the rap industrial complex. And so here's an example of the rap industrial complex. Binge drinking, right? When liquor companies realized that rap labels and rap moguls were viable ambassadors to push their product, then every mogul became an ambassador for a liquor agency. And we look at it as business, like, oh wow, Diddy got Ciroc, oh wow, 50 got effing vodka. But the reality is, it was the liquor companies, the big conglomerates that saw promise in corrupting our culture to the point now where you and I were speaking about off camera, no one parties anymore. You know what they do? They buy bottles.
But the pendulum is swinging back to the middle. And I can honestly say that doing a lot of outreach with the younger kids, they're sick. They're sick of it. They're over the top. There's a generation that grew up with it, and so they're still pushing it and they're still living it. But the kids that have seen the ramifications from it, they're sick of it. And that's the reason why D1 Music, a Joyner Lucas, a Kendrick Lamar is blowing up beyond blowing.
When you were in it, when you were with Ruff Ryder, did you see the corruption in the systems?
No, here's the thing. There is corruption in everything, okay?
Correct.
And it's a personal choice. I think the problem that I had was people turning their face the opposite way. We can't do that anymore. When we see an injustice, we have to let both parties, the victim and the predator, know, yo, bro, nah, we can't have it. And Crazy Legs said it himself about the birth of the rap industrial complex was because the labels invested into the jails. So the music that they started putting money behind was pushing the generation in those beds. And they were making more money from the byproduct of what they created than the actual product that they created. Because what people don't realize is during the joint venture deals, that's the reason why there aren't very many of them right now. We made more money than them. And the prime example, that's why I love Damon Dash. Love that brother. Because Rockefeller was going to be the first independent label that was going to be traded on the stock market. And that was the beginning of the end. As soon as they put that prospectus together, because they would have been exactly what they were.
A lot of people don't know that.
I still have the prospectus. They had the liquor company, they had technology, they had records, they had clothing. They had it all. And it was well put together to show. They showed their expansion, they showed their reach, they showed their globe. It's an amazing prospectus. And to me, I still look at that as the possibility. And I hope that our artists that are out there are paying attention to the point where ownership is number one and growth is number two. And collaborative economics is number three. You cannot do this alone. That's the biggest lie. That's the biggest lie. You need to be an octopus.
But there's an issue now with artists with their ability to collaborate because there are no labels no more. That there are no, when I say there are no labels, there are no Rockefeller or Ruff Ryders or Dungeon Family. There are no black houses anymore.
Well, yes and no. French Montana has his, Khaled has his, Ross has his, 300 has his.
Yeah,
there's
but
outlets out there. But see,
those are not what you guys had. Those are entrapments for 360 deals with Warner, with Atlantic. Like, it's different now.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
We're the
thing.
reasons why.
Right.
We're the reasons why they created the 360 deals. Because I'll never forget it. I think it was like maybe about 2001, 2002. I'm looking at the books. And I'm like, guys, this is not going to last forever. No, it was 2000. I said it. I predicted by 2005. Right? I figured they would give us about 5 years, and that would be the end of the joint ventures.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
2002 is when they started
dissolving that shit. Right.
Because we were making all the money, and they weren't.
Right, and they weren't making money.
They weren't making the money.
But I feel like, when you deal with...
They were making money, but
when
not
you deal
the
with
same
the devil,
amount of money.
you deal with a 100-year plan, right? It's not a 10-year plan. They look into the future. And so I feel like the ramp up of joint ventures and the ramp up of the mogul, the black mogul, was necessary so that when they pull the rug from up under you, there still needed to be this press to be like, people still wanted to be part of these labels. And so it didn't matter. So now that's why the 360 deal matters now. Because now when they lock in an artist...
Well, no one should sign a 360 deal.
They lock in an artist.
No one should sign a 3S. No one should sign a 360 deal.
Not, especially not in this day and age.
And if you do, let it be based on measures. When I break this level, then there's no more.
Then there's no more, right.
Because you've made your money off of me.
Right.
But see, okay, so let's just really talk about that, right? I don't think the worst thing you can do to a hustler is give him money and tell him to go out and hustle. He gonna flip that money 10 times over. That's exactly what they did. Because they were so successful in creating a brand that brand had value, and the tentacles, again, that octopus.
Right.
They saw, let's put the liquor line, let's put the clothing line. And let me tell you this, they approached us. It wasn't us going to them.
Right. I know.
Because they saw the value. And black culture is popular culture.
Correct.
Period.
Correct.
Period. It's still to today. I just did a whole study on just hip-hop and the impact of hip-hop right now. And we're, 400 million users. We are over $536.1 billion in trade. We are 3 times more likely to share information on social media than any other music genre. 30% of all streaming that happened last year in 2023 was hip hop. That's influence, that's impact. So that's why you'll see Hyundai or whatever use a hip hop record, or Avis using a rap record
all the time
to push their product.
Here's another stat though. Since you brought up stats, I wanted to bring this to your attention to see what you thought about it. So the University of Sydney, Australia in 2018, they did a study. The study was to see throughout musical genres how musicians die, right? And so what the University of Sydney found was across all musical genres, homicide represents 6% of the total deaths of musicians across genres. So across all genres, 6% of musicians that have ever lived died due to homicide. When you look at hip hop, the number is 51.5%. So throughout the course of hip hop, 51.5% of every hip hop artist that has ever lived has died from homicide.
What year was that done?
2018.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense because of the mere fact that, because when you really look at the eras, right, that level of violence didn't come until later.
Until later, right.
There were a couple because it was street life.
Right.
And street life warrants that. But
I mean, we had our Bigs, our Tupacs, our Freaky Ties, right? Our Scott LaRock, but it wasn't.
It wasn't at the point. It wasn't at the turnaround
that it is now. Right.
And that's because they're listening to death music. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, again, there's a lot to be said about artist development. When you have somebody that's nurturing you and showing you how to excel in the career, it's not as frustrating as somebody learning by dropping 2,000 and not getting nothing, 5,000 not getting nothing, and then when they're broke, they finally find a person that they got to deal with, but they ain't got no money. You know what I mean? So that's another frustration. It's that type of process that so many artists go through. That is why I'm telling them, learn the business. Do research before you go in bed with anybody. You know, I joke and I say, make sure they ain't got an STD. Because you make sure before you go in bed with somebody, you make sure that they ain't got nothing. So why you jumping in bed with somebody you don't know and don't know whether or not they're clean or dirty? That's a necessary step. Split sheets, necessary step. I can't tell you how many artists go into the studio, make records, put records out, and ain't filled out a split sheet the first.
Tell them what a split sheet is.
A split sheet is a form that you should fill out in the studio as soon as the record is done. And basically what it says is, you did the music, I did the lyrics.
Did the lyrics, right.
You did the music, and just so that you guys are clear, because I had to explain this to an artist today. Here's the circle. Put a line through the circle. This is music, this is lyrics and melody. 50-50. So now if me and my mans and them was doing the lyrics and melody, we split 50% of that record. But if you did all the music, you get 50%.
I get the whole 50%.
Right. Now if a publisher comes in, split it this way, right? So now it's 25, 25, 25, 25. You should never give away 50% of your record.
Never.
Never. And if you do, again on performance, after it reached this level, I get this much back. After it reached this level, I'm the one that made it. Why are you the one that stays paid from it?
Right.
It's illogical.
Right.
But because they don't know the business.
But they don't know the business because they're coming into the business. They should know the business. You're coming in, you can sing, you can rap. You don't know the business of music. So you just want to get on. You just want to be heard. You want to be validated in your talent. So now you make a song. The people that you work with should educate you. They ain't going to educate you though.
That is not today's game. Stop. Pause.
Right. So
pause, like Dame says. Pause.
So then,
that is not today's game.
So then you're asking for artists to be businessmen.
Absolutely. You listen.
But we know that that's not traditionally sound. Artists are artists.
Excuse me.
That's why they're artists.
No, fuck tradition. We're talking business.
Okay.
Okay? So let me break it down. Because this is how I make artists understand what they're dealing with.
Right.
I'm an executive. You're an artist. What do you call yourself?
An artist.
Product.
Right.
That's what you are.
Product.
What do you call what you make?
Music.
Intellectual property.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right. But what I'm telling
what
you
do you call your team?
My mans in them.
Your organization.
Right.
I'm going to know whether or not you're viable or not by your mans in them because that's your organization.
Who is there to educate the artists on that? Because artists, Millie, you know, artists are artists.
I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down so real. And artists today, they love me because I give it to them straight. Right. I don't sugarcoat nothing.
Right.
If you don't know the music industry today, you're just straight up lazy and stupid. Straight up. Because you got many faces, you got the top lawyer, you got so many platforms out there that are really educating the real on the music business. If you don't search for it, then you're the victim. It's cause and effect. You're causing the effect of your career by being a lazy artist.
I think
that's
laziness. Unfair because I'm gonna tell you this. Let me explain why I think it's unfair. To be great at something, you have to put your all into it, right?
Exactly.
And so what I'm telling you is, to be a great artist, you have to be an artist.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Because
Michael Jackson knew about the industry before he got in the industry.
Wait, hold up. He's a perfect example. Okay. Michael Jackson, at his prime, owned 50% of Sony's catalog.
But he came into the game as a 10-year-old. He didn't know that shit when he was 10.
But his father learned the game. But no,
right.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about today's artists.
Right.
Because the game has changed. The game has completely changed, and artists are not realizing it. They're playing this pseudo wannabe artist, not doing business career, adding money towards likes and getting 1 million hits.
Boosting
but then,
posts.
yeah, but then when you look at their comments, they got 2. You got 112 followers, but you got 2 comments. Bruh, you're phony, you're fake.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're not learning about funnels, if you're not learning about how to Patreon or, just how to monetize what you're working on, what are you doing it for?
And what I'm telling you is that artists need a guy, right?
No,
so they need their
they
home.
don't.
We don't.
Stop making that excuse for
All right, so let me
that.
ask you this. Let me pose it a different way. When's the last time we had a truly great artist?
We got that right now.
Name one.
D1 Music. Incredible.
D1.
D1
That's
Music.
the brother with the locks.
Mm-hmm. D1 Music. Incredible. And right now, he's got property on Harvard campus and he's building a school.
So okay.
He's
and I know
somebody.
who D1 is. Hold
He's
on.
somebody
I know what
that
D1
learns.
is. Are you telling me that D1 is making timeless music?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yes.
Okay, I
He's
haven't
got
heard
catalog.
his music, so I need to listen.
First of all, his first record, what got him in the game, I've been following his career from the very beginning, was about the student loans. He made national news. Sony thought it was so dope, they signed him. But they didn't understand him. Right? So he wasn't getting marketed right, wasn't getting pushed right. He asked to be released. He knew his value. So he started with the grassroots. He's a Christian hip-hop rapper that is politically astute. So he fluctuates between those. So he went into the college scene and he went into the Christian scene and blew up because he knew his target audience. He knew who was going to like his music and he went right after them and blew it up to the point now where he is a household name. And he did that himself.
I wouldn't say that he's a household name.
Yeah.
He's not a house in my household. I have a 29-year-old daughter. She don't know who D1 is.
Because she's 29. That's not his demographic.
But you said he's a household name.
Yes. Because I'm talking about the people that follow that music.
Right. In his demo,
right.
He's a household name.
Yes.
Right.
But that's what you want to be.
Right. In his demo.
But that's what you want to be. You don't care. See, that's the other thing. That artists make a huge mistake. First of all, artists need to understand it's like going to college. When you pick your college, you know about your college before you go to your college.
Facts.
Well, the music industry is the college that you're going to. So you should know the college that you're going to. You should do the homework to know exactly what you're getting ready to get into. There's in bookstores, there are literally aisles on the music industry. So there's no excuse other than we panhandle artists because they're artists, but that was the old strategy to rob the artists.
But to add to your analogy, the big homie that you find on campus, that's your music lawyer. That's the person.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's the
You
first
need
person
people.
that you need to have.
Oh, absolutely. Your lawyer and your accountant are the two most
Because it
important
goes
people
back
that you
to
need.
my question. Do we have timeless artistic talent?
Yeah. Joyner Lucas is another one. Okay? He's another one.
Joyner Lucas has an entire team behind him.
But Joyner Lucas...
I like that you said him because that's my point.
But he's my point too. Because Joyner Lucas knows the business. He
knows the business because he has an entire team behind him.
No. Him and
You
his...
said it as a soprano, as a alto.
Him and his team learned through the school of hard knocks.
But you said him and his team.
Right, but they were ignorant to the fact too, but they did the due diligence.
Right.
They had some sense of understanding of the music industry and then learned how to finesse it.
Right.
To the point now that they have a platform that they got paid $9 million that actually teaches another tool. Artists how to navigate the music industry because he didn't want to see another artist go through what he went through. So there's no excuse other than us giving them excuse, being an artist, that they can't be intelligent enough to know the business. I refuse to believe that. And I refuse to endorse that.
So this is what you do now.
Because that's the beginning of the ignorance.
Tell me, what is it that you do now? Because you seem to be in education mode now.
Yeah, well, no, I'm in consulting mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I wear a couple of hats. I'm a journalist at heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always researching.
Mm-hmm.
I love writing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next thing that I'm doing. I'm going into writing songs and into writing plays and into writing shows. I'm an executive producer of my TV show, Hip Hop Tour. That's on Nubian TV. And that's on Roku, Vizio, View, Veeam, Fire TV, and Amazon Prime.
It's called Nubian TV.
Nubian TV.
Gotcha.
It's a black-owned network because I'm being intentional. And we air every Monday at 8 p.m. And the whole purpose I mentioned before of Hip Hop Tour, which is my show, is to show the differential between the lifestyle and culture called hip hop versus this rap industrial complex. So, I mean, I've got everybody so far. You know, all the pioneers I grabbed. You know, from Globe of Soul Sonic Force to, you know, Coke Rock.
G-L-O-B.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right,
you know,
okay.
to Riff
Right.
170,
Right.
to, you know, just talking about what it was during then and why they did what they did, so
Right.
that the kids could really get a clear picture. Season 2, we're going to go into the expansion of hip hop and go into the various markets and start doing a timeline so that they can understand the expansion and growth, and they can also understand where we went left when we should have went right, so that we can bring it back to the middle again. And I see it. I see hip hop. I mean, LL Cool J's new record, Devour, bang! And he's got 2 new artists on it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. I mean, you
His
look
record
at,
didn't do well in terms of sales.
because of the mere fact, see, you know, again, there's certain jewels that the industry lost. That if you were fortunate enough to be around a Cecil Holmes, LeBaron Taylor, Gerald Busby, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be around them. Sylvia Rome, Doug Morris, Craig Callman. These guys knew the business. And being the fly that sat by the door, the spook that sat by the door, I heard the conversations and learned the way. There is a method to releasing an album. The first record should be the record that everybody's familiar with you, what they like you for. The second record should be that unexpected, oh shit, what the fuck is that, excuse my French, record. The third record should be the record that drives the album. That's that all play, all day, can't get enough of it hit. If you don't release it in that manner, you screw the momentum of your project. I kind of feel like that's what he did. Because, personally, that Devour record should have been the second record.
That should have been the one.
What? That
So
record
you know the
is
joint with
straight
Eminem?
fire.
You know the joint he got with Eminem? That
It's cool.
video, he wore Hip Hop Closet. That leather suit is ours.
Oh!
Yeah.
You should capitalize on that.
Yeah.
But do a press release, all of that.
Right, all of that.
Right, for real. Because that's how it gets known. And that's another missing ingredient. These artists don't... When you Google an artist, this is how I know whether they know the industry or don't know the industry. Just from one Google, right? You see IMD, Spotify, Apple, DistroKid, all the outlets. But do you see any stories that talks about their character? Do you see any coverage that talks about their momentum? Do you see any involvement of anybody other than them talking about them? That's what builds your audience.
Right.
That's media relations. And
It's
a
the
lot of
story.
independent artists lose the story. Again, the word to the sentence, to the paragraph, to the story.
Right.
If you're not doing that, you're not building longevity. You're going to come and go.
Right.
Just as quick as they found out about you, just as quick as they're going to forget
You gotta
about
be
you.
disposable.
Because there's no reason. So outside of the book, outside of the TV show, I have a book, CEO versus CEO. So I'm doing public speaking because I feel like if we can close the generation gap, the gender gap, and men and women within the industry can really work. My brothers and sisters could really work together instead of being competitive against each other. You know, we'll excel. And then, you know, just as far as, you know, humane causes, as far as child advocacy, education advocacy, and women empowerment, that's the other stuff that I do. And senior, because I feel like I didn't realize until I got older what age discrimination really is, and it disgusts me. My mother is 90 years old. Jeez, wow. But my mother is the most vibrant 90-year-old you'll ever. I become her bodyguard when we go out, because young people can't believe that this lady hangs that tough. Right. You know what I mean? I'll never forget one time, Freedom Williams, we was out for his birthday. And we were sitting in his booth, and my mother, she likes records that are just like that low end, that real drive, you know what I mean? Anything that doesn't have that is whack to her. So she's dancing and the DJ's really getting it, and he threw on a whack record, and my mother sat down and it was like, what happened? She said, oh, that's whack. And they was like, wait a minute, hold up, what do you mean whack? She said, there's no boom. There's no boom. You know, so that's her. And
she's a young spirit.
Exactly. And so to me, that's what she taught me. Age is a mindset. It is nothing more than a number. If you think you're old, you're old.
You're old, right.
So the ageism thing really gets me, and I'm watching it in my algorithms. I'm watching it, that the advertisement that they send because of statistically who I am age-wise, and I'm not even into that. I'm a hip-hop head. True blue. I don't know about that old stuff. That ain't me. That ain't me.
Right.
I'm on the scene, in the scene, on the scene.
Right.
Still vibrant, still living, still loving.
Right.
Don't put me out to pasture.
Right.
I'm not an old cow.
Where you live now, Harlem?
Yes. Well, right now I'm helping a friend of mine, so I'm in the Bronx. Yeah, that's an interesting journey. Shout out to the ex. I'm learning a lot about the Bronx. You know, that's the thing that I love about New York, though. Each borough has its own character.
Own shit, right.
So I'm a Brooklyn chick.
New York is a story of 5 cities.
Yes, it is.
It's not one city.
Not at all.
Brooklyn is different than Manhattan. And in fact, I would say 6 cities, because Harlem is different than Manhattan.
Yes.
Right?
Or 7, because Staten Island is its own little thing too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that, I have family over there, and that is like a whole.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's a whole.
That's like living in the country over.
Right.
Right. It's
but then,
totally
different. but certain parts of Staten Island is like being in a war zone.
Oh hell yeah! Yeah.
So,
Staples.
You know, so it's just really interesting. I mean, I just love New York. So that's what I'm doing nowadays. I'm just living life and loving it.
You happy?
Yes, I am. I'm letting God lead me. I'm very spiritual. So now I'm just letting God lead me. Like this whole thing with the seniors in 30 years, because I want them to get a 30-year tax exemption. You know, if you've been living in your house for 30 years and you're a senior, you're grandfathered in on your tax.
That's a great idea. In fact, that's something that we should bring here to New York. If you've been in your residence for 30, 35 years, you should be exempt from.
Yes. Well, not from increments. You should be exempt.
Right, from increases. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Because, you know, everybody got to pay their taxes, otherwise the city go broke. But, you know, why persecute the people that have been holding you down when it wasn't vote?
Right.
So, the 30th, I'm speaking before the city council. It took me 8 months to get that
That's
meeting.
awesome.
I'm one of those.
Are you single?
Yes, I am. Well,
okay,
no,
she's
I'm not.
single.
No,
Millie's single, everybody.
No,
she's
wait a
single.
minute. No, wait.
Okay,
no.
hold on, wait.
I'm not single.
All right.
I'm in a relationship, but I'm not married.
If you ain't married, you single.
No.
Nah. Shout out to that, man. Good luck with that. This has been great.
Yeah, this has.
See, I told you, right? So, like, we've come to know one another.
Yeah.
During this talk.
Yeah,
right?
This is really cool.
Yeah.
And I like the pace of it. I mean, it was just a real conversation.
It's a real conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do this. I'm telling you, I do this.
Go ahead.
So look, now you got to judge. So
Okay.
we do sneaker wars, and I saw this cat. He wore his, I think these is Kobe's or whatever. But this is what we do every week. We do sneaker wars. So Kaisha's not here. Shout to Kai. Shout to our sister.
Yes,
Kaisha.
Kai, I love you.
You know what I'm saying? She'll be back next week. Trust me, she's on the text. She's hitting us up. She'll be back next week. But we do sneaker wars. So every week, we ask the guests to choose which one of us has the best kicks on. So you can look at mine. I got on the old Jordans.
Well, you got the classics.
I got the classics on. They're really fresh. Really fresh, really simple. Now he's gonna tell you a story because he always tells a story. Look, watch.
Oh wait, he's coordinated though, because the sneakers match the shit.
I'm not coordinated.
No. Wait a minute. There's a magic to this. DJ Capri taught me this.
Right.
It must match exactly, and he does. So I give him credit for that because that's an art.
Okay, but we talking about the sneakers. We ain't talking about the hoodies.
So you know, I got a daughter, right?
Look, here you go.
Okay.
I got a daughter, right?
Okay.
What does that say?
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry.
This motherfucker always comes.
He smashed it.
No one sees that when you walk into the street.
It don't matter.
You know it's there.
It was the extra effort.
He builds the story into the shit. He's cheating,
That's
y'all.
what makes the sneaker even that much more fly. Is that it ain't ordinary, it's extraordinary.
So your decision is
Kudos.
those.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying.
For
I've
two
been
reasons.
cheated
One,
again.
because his daughter, and two, because
I got daughters too. I got two daughters. He only got one.
Not in the lip.
I know, you're right.
Okay. And because he matched it perfectly. Because I used to tease DJ Capri with that. Because, I mean, the orange.
That's that down south. And it's not, if you look at that green and that, they're not the same.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
No,
They're not. Look, come back.
No,
We're
they
going to
are.
have the people decide.
Yeah,
Come.
yeah, they are.
Come.
Yeah, you could tell he's meticulous. It
It's the
really
same.
is.
Come.
It's the same color.
It's
Bro,
the same.
it's the same
Is it
color.
the same?
Yes, it
Look,
is.
is this
Yes.
and that the same?
Yes, it is.
Y'all colorblind.
Nah, bro.
Go on, show him the lip. Look at the lip. You see the lip? That's bullshit.
Your dad.
Hater.
All right, we'll be back next Tuesday.
Yo, thank you very much.
Nah,
this was excellent.
I hope this is not the last time that we have these
And I gotta
conversations.
invite you guys over to Hip Hop
Oh,
Talk.
you gotta have.
We gotta come here
You
to the
gotta
Hip Hop
have.
Closet
Let me
and
know.
just talk about
Yeah,
it.
let's.
Because
we can talk about
she
everything.
told me the story about when you guys first started, and then you wanted to have the brick and mortar to show that you're really real. And I just think it's a great idea.
This
and
is
it's
an
centrally
institution.
located.
Yeah, this is an institution.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been 26 years. Shout out to Malik. Malik is somewhere in here. Malik is like the silent.
I saw Malik.
Yeah, he don't never come in front of the camera, but that's, you know, he's the guy. He's the guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's the guy, you know? So we'll be back next Tuesday. We love y'all to death. Shout out to Kaisha. We'll talk to you soon next week. Millie on the set. Thank you very much.
AMELIAISMORE. Follow me. And if you need advice, holla at your girl.
One.